From vaccine scams to romance cons and old-fashioned banking fraud, scammers have been capitalising on the pandemic as a way to make a quick buck. Shockingly, impersonation scam cases where criminals impersonate trusted organisations like the Post Office or the HMRC to trick victims into handing over their cash almost doubled in 2020. So we all need to be really scam savvy. And funnily enough, you got the HMRC one, and so did I, just the other day.
You say funnily enough, but I was so scared and so nervous. It was on Saturday. I was just, I was just doing some housework stuff, and then a phone call came through, and it said HMRC. And I'm thinking, OK, HMRC, answer immediately. And then when I answered after, like, 2 rings, and then it started ringing. So it went through to somebody else who answered the phone and says, hello, who's speaking? So I says, well, you called me, so who's calling me? And then they says, can I have your name? I says, yes, it's Ms. Edwards. And then they says, OK, can you... And I says, no, can you tell me who you are? Because you asked me to call you. I don't know why you're calling me. Why? And then it turned... Before I went through to them, it said, this is a notification to say that you have... there is a tax fraud against your account. Could you... I panicked. I was panicked. I was sweating.
And that's what they're relying on.
Oh, my gosh. It was... But I ended up putting the phone down to them because they weren't giving me my tax reference.
Yeah.
Don't ask me for my tax... You tell me what my tax reference is. You call me. What is it? Tell me. So I had to put the phone down.
I mean, I got that one as well, and I just put the phone down. But, I mean, I have to say to people, there's one going the rounds that says pay money to an account, which is Kaye Adams. If you get that, it is 100% a scam. It's really embarrassing. People keep sending me a screenshot of this on Twitter and stuff, so that is yet another scam. I mean, Janet, I'm assuming you are scam savvy?
I'm scam savvy, but it's true that at the moment, there are deluges of them every single day. I've had the one, you've sent a parcel, you didn't put the correct postage on it, here's the link, you know, you've got to pay the money that's owing for this parcel to be delivered. I've had the parcel loads of times. I've had HMRC, I've had emails that purport to be from close friends. That's really spooky now. So if you have an email that says hi and your name, and then in the body of the email, just a link, close it down immediately and delete it right out.
Well, I mean, you mentioned those ones just to let people know that the ones that are doing the rounds at the moment, and there will be others, so this is not exhaustive, but if you get anything to do with TV licensing, Royal Mail, ticket scams, because obviously venues opening, and HMRC scams, they are very much doing the rounds, as I say, at the moment. So please, please be wary of these. Funny enough, Jane Moore wrote in her column today that her mum got the Post Office one, and because she's not particularly tech savvy, she went down to the Post Office. And of course, they told her, you know, it's not. And so Jane told Gary, her husband, he got it the next day and he promptly put in his bank details. You know, just had that blank. Did you not get that one, Denise, the Post Office one?
Well, no, I thought I had this morning because I've got a card saying that I've got to... that it says there's a fee to pay before we can deliver your item, but I think that you've told me that that's okay. But I haven't had it online, but I'm really glad that you guys have told me about these scams, because luckily as well, I have Lincoln who keeps me posted on them, because I've got this kind of financial phobia thing, and I fall for stuff very easily, and it's really pathetic, as I normally consider myself a woman of the world, but I'm really not with things like that. I mean, I fell for one a couple of years ago, which was the fraud department of my bank calling me. I was rehearsing a show, so I kept coming out and it was the fraud department again, and I was so worried. They were saying that people had been accessing my account and taking money out of it. And this sounds so naive, but because they were so clever and so manipulative and did it over a couple of days, they eventually asked me for one of my PIN numbers, and I gave it to them. When I told Lincoln, his head nearly exploded. And I said, I know it's totally ridiculous. They'd already taken the money, but it was the fact that it was playing the long game. So there wasn't just one phone call. And so since then, I've been more savvy. But obviously my dad's in his 80s, and because he's such a friendly, gregarious person, these people who phone with the old, hi, Vin, what a lovely day, you know, what a lovely day, isn't it? What's it like up there, mate? Dad's fallen for many things over the years. So I think it's really important to keep a handle on it. But they're very clever these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'd say, Denise, your bank does ring you sometimes if your credit card, God knows we can't travel at the moment, but often when you travel outside the area where your purchases have been in the past, your bank might phone you to check that your credit card is your credit card. But when your bank phone you, they always ask you in a certain sequence. They won't ever ask you for your PIN number. They'll ask you for your memorable place. And then they've got other security questions. So when someone rings up and says it's your bank, if they don't ask you about your memorable place and they, you know, there is a way out of this.
But I mean, I suppose it's where'd you learn about this stuff? And the problem is that people feel foolish. And I think that's a problem because they don't want to ask a question because they think, is this a stupid question? But this is the new way of getting money out of people. So we have to be prepared to look foolish and ask basic questions because where would you know this stuff?
Don't you think it's frightening, though, that older people at home rely on the telephone to keep them in touch, especially during the last year, to keep them in touch with their relatives and their friends? Now they're frightened of answering the phone. Like Brenda said, she answered the phone and then you think, oh, I'm going to get another call. But you've got to block the numbers as they come up.
And they're very good and very good at what they do. Unfortunately, they are convincing. So there's no shame in being taken in, but ask those questions and never, ever give any personal information or a PIN code in particular.